Up from the sea, 20 stories high, breathes fire, his head in the sky, Godzilla. We're just going to be doing a random commentary today. We're going to be doing the cartoon from the 1998, well, based off the 1998 film. This is it's the Monster Wars trilogy, parts 1, 2 and 3. I'm just going to be doing part 2 today. I'll quick just talk about Godzilla generally and specifically, I'll probably touch upon the 1998 Godzilla a lot because I feel like that takes a lot of flack and always good to sort of stick up for the underdogs and things like that. What's especially interesting though to me because like partly why I sung that, sung in inverting commas in air commas there, or air quotes even. But my sort of first sort of introduction to Godzilla, I'm like 95% certain, was the 70s/80s Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like literally, some guy could press a button and Godzilla would just pop out the water and save the day. And almost a bit like Scrappy-Doo and Scooby-Doo. Everybody seems to hate Scrappy-Doo, and I kind of quite like Scrappy-Doo. But it's like with Godzuki, never really understood the flack that Godzuki takes because it's just like, well, it was a Saturday morning cartoon, quite light-hearted and things like that. I think it's easy as an adult to look at it and think, oh, it's a little bit irritating and things, and I can see that part of it. When there's real proper hatred, it's just like, like come on, get real, like kind of thing. And then sort of watching that as a kid, and then sort of, occasionally, I think I've heard other people like say James Rolfe say that like, it's hard to, get this across nowadays with things like Netflix and sort of. Oh, by the way, it might not. I'll try to be as scene specific as I can. That was some great Godzilla, or not Godzilla, but monster type noises there. Just just that monster was flying past and stuff. It's interesting how it says Toho. I'll probably come back to that in a second. So I feel like Columbia got a bit hard done by, but. Like say, such a thing like growing up in the 80s and 90s wasn't like now with like Netflix and things. Like even like if you went to your like local video shop or something, it was really hard to get like a lot of the original Japanese Godzilla movies. So you'd see like the odd one once in a blue moon on TV, or just monster movies generally, or like one would pop up here and there. No pun intended, as that creature just pops up there. Like just very slowly over the years, just like like that Hanna-Barbera cartoon just literally part of my DNA, like really was, and so it's like one of those things where never really I never really appreciated how much I liked Godzilla and monster movies until things like the 1998 Godzilla come out, and still to this day, I can remember walking past a Canon cinema and seeing it because my local Canon had 3 quad posters outside that you could see even when the cinema was closed. And so any time I walked past it, because it wasn't, it was in the town next to my local town. And I always remember walking past and seeing the 1998 Godzilla on. And still to this day, I don't know why I didn't go see it. I'm sure there was just no money, or didn't get round to it, or just forgot, or whatever. But I sort of watched this, when it came on to rent on video and on TV and things like that. The film version, I should say. And then I think I just got multi-channel TV when this cartoon version of it came out, and I think I saw a couple of episodes of this cartoon, and it probably just reminded me of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, but with the 1998 Godzilla in there, and I cannot fathom for the life of me why the 1998 Godzilla takes so much flack. I mean, I can sort of, obviously they changed the design a little bit, but it's still really cool, like dinosaurs or monster lizard kind of thing. You look at Godzilla as this huge, like almost T-Rex, and the 1998 Godzilla is a quasi, lizard version of a T-Rex. So it's like you've got the cool monster. He came from nuclear testing, which obviously everybody knows about Godzilla is, it's obviously come from the nuclear bombs in like Japan and all things like that. And so it's got like they kept the design similar, they kept the origin similar. It's really cool sort of traditional monster movie. And I think the one very slight difference there is he's got like fire breath instead of atomic breath, but to me that's like splitting hairs. It's like, well, he could breathe, an amazing weapon out of his mouth. So it's like, I can understand people hating it if they really changed it so much that it was unrecognisable. And one thing I always used to think was quite funny, again in inverted commas, that like, because people, it doesn't count, it doesn't count, it doesn't count. But anytime, like literally as this was just starting, it says like, based on characters owned by Toho, I always used to think, well, people can sort of knock the 1998 Godzilla as much as they want, but at the end of the day, it is, it was been all approved by Toho, Toho signed off on it and everything, so it's quote unquote official. And then way after the fact, watching a bit more of the the original Japanese movies, and then when Final Wars came out, I remember talking with Tom and stuff about like how they'd gone from calling the 1998 Godzilla Zilla, and then it was officially recognised by Toho as a sort of as part of that universe. And at first I thought that was quite funny, because it's like one of those things where it's like, well, it was official to start off with, then it wasn't official, but now the 1998 Godzilla is official, which is called Zilla, and at first I thought that was quite funny, but then it made me think, like, with this new Godzilla that's come out recently, the Gareth Edwards film by Legendary Pictures, like, just say a few years down the line they go, oh, that one doesn't count, and then what about the Hanna-Barbera one? Does that count now? Is that like, well, we approved it, but, and I guess they're Toho, they can do whatever they want. They can, they obviously know more about Godzilla, and they are the sort of gatekeepers of that, that character and that mythology and everything. But just struck me as being something kind of interesting, that like how a character can go from being, completely approved, and then like. And now, but it is approved still, and it's just weird, kind of, big old mess of like, what's going on. But that's one thing as well. Just have a quick sip of my drink. Not alcoholic this time, it's coffee. God, I must be slipping in my old age. Yeah, but what's really funny as well about this, actually, to sort of talk about, I quite like that effect then, is he put his handprint on the control panel there, which kind of was lovely, like loads of different colours and stuff. But I always think it's kind of interesting though, just like looking at this, that how it's 4-3, and obviously this is from like 1998, 1999, so it's knocking on a bit now. It's not new by any stretch of the imagination, but I do kind of, it just kind of, just like now you just can't, you just see very few 4-3 things on TV now. I mean, even like, sometimes when you watch some of these channels, like some of these channels that have repeats on and things like that, they either don't have 4-3 shows on, or if they do, they soft crop them so it's widescreen. So it's kind of interesting just seeing, this, it makes you instantly just feel like a little bit old-fashioned watching something. Not to me, because I mean, I watch a lot of old, 4-3 programs, and I try to watch them in the right ratio if at all possible, so it's not that alien to me. But if I went to somebody's house now and they weren't watching if they were watching a 4-3 program in 4-3, it would I think it would just catch my attention if you're watching an old program. Like, what's kind of funny though, and I do that, like, what's going to be especially funny about this is only a 20-minute commentary, and we're already 8 minutes 50 into it now, but I always spend the first at least 4 or 5 minutes just talking about God knows what, and even though I must have seen this before, I'm like literally coming in to see it at part 2, and then like, and then like, I'm like, what? And what's funny about that though, because that's like, as far as I can tell, like sort of a mecha Godzilla Zilla. So again, it's that funny thing of like, oh, this 1998 Godzilla, they've completely ruined it, and they've even done the exact, instead of like a Mecha Godzilla, you've had a Mecha Zilla, and it's like, and I just like to say, it's one of those things where, if I live to be 200, I think I'll be sticking up for the Gus Van Sant Psycho in both the 1998 film and the 1998 Godzilla, because I just, like I say, personal preference, fine. If for whatever reason you don't like Matthew Broderick, or you didn't like, Ron Lemerick, Dean Devlin, or things like that, And again, just touching on the Gareth Edwards movie, I love that Gareth Edwards movie, and you can tell he's a proper fan. And one thing that always kind of made me smile was he mentions, I think, one of the making of featurettes that he was watching his UK channel called Channel 4, and it was just, I think it was probably around 1998. They were having loads of the Godzilla movies on. I can remember watching them taping off TV and stuff. And there was a show called Vids that had Godzilla specials and things on there as well. And he says, Gareth Edwards says on one of the featurettes that he used to watch, because he's British, and he said, I used to watch the Godzilla films on Channel 4. I was like, I did that! And, so, and pretty much anything Godzilla I like on some level, and that. But, yeah, so, but if I didn't know, if I was coming into it completely cold, somebody said to me, if you watched the 1998 Godzilla and the Gareth Edwards Godzilla, and you said one of these is hated by the fans, I'd probably say it was the Gareth Edwards one. And not because it's not a great movie, and probably, and on art, I'd probably say it probably is a better movie than the 1998 Godzilla one. Very well paced, and the way Godzilla looks and the action's really cool. That said, I feel like the 1998 one is unashamedly a Godzilla movie. You talk about Godzilla all the time. They show you great shots of him. And he's like, one of my favourite shots in any Godzilla movie is the bit where they tempt Godzilla out and he's eating the fish, and when they fire the rocket and he ducks out the way and the missiles shoot over him. I just love that. That just really winds people up, but it shows my viewpoint's so skewed, because I think that's so cool. So it's like one of those things where, and there are some cool shots in the Gareth Edwards one, and I love how it's sort of very Spielbergian, and it's got that kind of 80s vibe to it. It almost feels like the Goonies or films of that ilk, like kind of thing. But yeah, I just feel like if I was to watch the 1998 Godzilla now, to me that feels like the Godzilla film that everybody loves and people stick up for all the time. And I'd feel like the newer one is the one that where people go, well, it's good, but occasionally they'll back away from the action, or they'll show you Godzilla from afar and things like that, which is kind of cool. But we're talking about liking anything Godzilla though, and I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing, but there was a PlayStation 4 Godzilla game that came out literally about a week and a half ago. And I had the money basically in my wallet, and I was going to get it. And I don't know what stopped me from getting it. Because I got the GameCube Godzilla game. It's like, oh my god, the Malay one. I thought, it was pretty good and stuff. And I was just going to buy it, literally just buy it. And I didn't. But then I've been reading loads of reviews for the Godzilla computer game, like say the new one, and it's got some proper slating. I know, like I say, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, but even just graphically, it didn't look that great for a PS4 game. And there's a brilliant James Rolfe review of it where they try and get the 2-player mode working, and it basically, I think it's only 2 players online. So it's just this weird thing of it's like be careful what you wish for kind of thing, because it's that when you got the GameCube and you think, well, you can't. I think you can go online with the game. Oh, actually, maybe you can. Anyway, it's not like now where you think, oh, go playing, I thought it was on there. I thought it was like my phone ringing or something. But yeah, you can't play online, and you think a lot of the newer games in widescreen and HD and stuff. But yeah, comparing it to even the PS2 Godzilla, what's it called? Save the Earth. It doesn't barely look as good as a PlayStation 2 game. This new PlayStation 4 game, you think, oh, it probably took a step backwards, but it's going to be interesting in terms of Godzilla, because I think even there's going to be another US Godzilla, and I think because Gareth Edwards is doing Rogue One, and then I think he's going to do the next Godzilla film, and then I think next year as well there's going to be another Japanese Godzilla movie. So it's going to be a lot of stuff in the next few years. But like I say, it's always been what's really interesting. I would say really interesting, but what I find fascinating though, because like I say, just watching this now, and I think I've said before when I did the pole position commentary, but for quite a while I always thought a lot of modern cartoons were not as good because they're not as realistic and they're really stylized. But you watch something like, say, Phineas and Ferb or something, and these so great, these new cartoons. What's for those voices just remind me of the Aliens, and the newer version of Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, the live version, there's a little prequel segment where the aliens the problem is of course the humans, and it's got this great robot voice on there. Just reminds me of that, those alien voices there. But look at that though too. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. I think it's one of those things though as well where, and I know I know sometimes I can be in the wrong for just if there's a picture on screen I'll be like, yeah, this is brilliant. But the Godzilla Roar. I mean, they kept the Godzilla Roar too. It's not like they even changed that. I mean, it's so iconic that it's like one of these things where what's the guy's name who designed the new Godzilla? The 98 Godzilla, so it's Patrick Tatopoulos, I think his name was. And I think it's such a shame that he took so much flack, and it's just a great design. But what's funny, one thing I'll say while I'm thinking about it, but one thing I don't think gets nowhere near enough. I'm going to say credit, but occasionally I will love a fan theory when they'll say Saved by the Bell is all a dream or something like that. But one thing I've noticed it myself or just picked up on a few things. But if you noticed Matthew Broderick in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, he's got a computer and he can hack how many days he's had off school. When Matthew Broderick is in War Games, he's obviously got a computer and he can hack. And there's a great line in War Games when one of the teachers says, "Who was the first person to suggest reproduction without sex?" And Matthew Broderick, as David Lightman says, "Was it your wife?" And this is a great joke. But just those two things combined, there is computer hacking in that line. But then there's a line in Godzilla 1998 where he says about, Godzilla doesn't need to have sex to reproduce, he's asexual. And the first thing I thought was, who says that in War Games? And then you think, he's a scientist, so he's good with computers on theory. So it's like, is he just the same character in every film? And what's really good, I was watching Trainwreck last night, the new Amy Schumer film, and I didn't know, spoilers by the way, Matthew Broderick's in it. I was like, my God, that's David Lightman. And there's a bit controversial opinions like in the 1998 Godzilla, but here's one for you. David Lightman from War Games is a cooler character than Ferris Bueller. And I know at first glance that's a ridiculous statement. Again, just a quick sip of my drink. If you think about it, in War Games, he's basically got a sentient computer in Joshua. He's got Ali Sheedy as a girlfriend. He's got the best computer setup. He's got modems with firewalls, and he's got all this amazing cool stuff. And then you think of Ferris Bueller. Ferris Bueller is a cool film, don't get me wrong. But Ferris Bueller's Day Off, he had a day off school. And it's like, yeah, he's got a Ferrari, and that's pretty cool. No, and I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but it's like I always think it's really funny that Ferris Bueller, everyone's like Ferris Bueller. Everyone's like, oh my God, Ferris Bueller's the coolest character ever. But if I had to live in one of those universes, it's like, do I want a talking sentient computer and go on this cool adventure? I was going to say stopping World War III, but almost started it in the process, or I've had loads of days off school, and to be fair, they weren't quite that cool. Oh, and that's another thing as well. This is one of those weird, and again I'm doing air quotes, conspiracy theories. But in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, just before he sings "Shake It Up, Baby Now," that song, he goes past the cinema, and on the marquee it says Godzilla, and it's like, wow. Those voices are so much like I say. What's really funny though, because I'm sure there's people who watching this, they're thinking, why is he only mentioned about once? Oh, they're swimming off. It's like every film version of Godzilla, including the new one. So I was like, are they in Vegas? Oh no, they're in Paris. They're almost like the Mutos in the newer Godzilla. But that's another thing as well. I'm sure this was never the case. Oh, there's London. I'm sure this was never the case. But people talk about kaiju now, and sort of there's all these terms that have been into Godzilla, nigh on 35 years, and it was always one of those things where there were people, the films with kaiju, and it's like, what? I think that's the phrase. What was always funny is a complete personal anecdote, but there was one guy you sometimes you just walk past people's houses and people just say stuff to you, and I must have been so obsessed with Godzilla because people were like, Joe Godzilla's on, it's like, what? And then I go bobbing round to my house to watch Godzilla and stuff. no credits, and there you go. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you later. Oh no, there is credits. I'll have to pick. I thought it was weird. The logo's good. Never mind, the logo's good. Who's that? J Bondy. I think I'll have that as my random random crew member. Stay tuned for another exciting episode of Godzilla.